Hi, I am Charlotte Wessels, and I'm playing here tonight with my band, The Obsession.
Will your tone change after the hunger strikes?
Hi, I am Charlotte Wessels, and I'm playing here tonight with my band, The Obsession. We're here in Le Petit Bain in Paris. We are supporting Vola, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about the songwriting process, live setup, live projects, and whatever else comes up. So this is basically the live session, and what I do because I like to obviously rehearse at home, and I like to be able to rehearse with different members there, different members not there, to be like super flexible. So what I basically do when I build the live, I put all of the stems in there. I start collecting the stems for the songs like really early, because the way that kind of my whole music revolves around is my Patreon, where I write a song every month, and I've been doing that since 2020. And when I started out, one of the perks for Patreons was that they could also get the separated stems, make their own remixes, be creative with it, build their own karaoke tracks and sing along. For the live project, I work with mixed stems from the record. I have like two different drum tracks. You'll see them here. I have the full drum track that I use to rehearse with, but you will see that it's currently routed to nowhere because it's not on during the set. And then we have the percussion. So this would be routed to percussion. This is the track that we actually use live. Same goes for bass. I have the bass tracks here to perform or to rehearse along with, but they're also routed to nowhere because we're not using them live. The guitar, we have like a few atmospheric things that are on live, just like background ambience tracks. And again, like the full track that I rehearse with. And then the same goes for the piano, the orchestra, and the synths. Like these are played by Sophia, and the orchestra track is a track that we actually do have on live, because as much as we want to, we cannot afford to bring a 50-piece orchestra with us on tour. We have some backing vocals here. A lot. These are not the same, again, as with the drums. Like it's not all backing vocals that are on live, because I feel like it kind of messes with the live experience to hear me like 6 times and then only see me 1 time. A lot of them are also done live by Sophia, our keyboardist, during the show. But yeah, so basically I have all the information in the live project, and then for the actual live show we only use several tracks of them. I have the countdown before every song, with like the track title.
Chasing sunsets. 4, 3, 2, 1.
So it's in Dutch, obviously. Yeah. It's just funny because I remember there was one part where, even though there was the countdown, we got it wrong several times. So instead of doing the 4, 3, 2, 1, I did like 8, 7, 6, 5. But you could kind of hear that I was annoyed with the part that we got wrong. So like for a while it was like on the track, it's like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I tried to keep it as neutral as possible to not have us all giggle during the live set and not having the audience know why. When I rehearse at home, I have all the tracks on, and I rehearse on a treadmill, because sometimes I get a little performance anxiety, and I will have like a very high heart rate, and my breath will be very high. And for years I thought I have to teach myself to not be nervous on stage, and I've learned after a while that maybe that's not in me. So now I'm training to perform while being nervous on stage, and I do so by rehearsing the set like on a treadmill. So my breath will be high because I'm working out, and my heart rate will be high because I'm working out, and then I'm rehearsing to sing the songs like that, and it has done wonders for my breath support, and yeah, it makes things a little more manageable. Yeah, there's a process of acceptance involved. Like for a long time I thought I have to tell myself to not be scared, and now I tell myself I have to perform while being scared, and yeah, that actually helps. It makes you feel more prepared, so that helps a lot. Like in general, like there's a big difference between the first versions of the songs that I make and then the versions as they were made on the album. Like for example, if I go to just a recent songwriting project, like for like melodic guitars, I used shreddage during songwriting. It also works quite well for strumming, but if it's like simple strumming patterns, then I also sometimes just use the electric sunburst. It's like a native instruments. And I usually build like the first version of the songs with those plugins, and then like also like digital bass, programmed drums, usually just the easy drum libraries. I feel that it really helps because I'm not a drummer, obviously, and at first I just used sampled drum kits, but I would often end up with drum parts you'd need like 3 arms for or something. So I find that it really helps me to take like patterns and use them as a base and then adjust them to how I want it, because then I know that in the basis it kind of makes sense. In the beginning it would still kind of bother me because you're so reliant on those tools, you know. But for this last album we went into the studio with the band, because the first 2 albums that I did under my own name were just like this. They were just like programmed instruments and digital instruments. But for The Obsession, which is the most recent album, came out in September, I went into the studio with my band. Then of course you have Joey is a fantastic drummer and he gives it his own spin to things. So it goes like in multiple steps to like the end result, which then I feel is like totally way more organic. In general, we took like a very organic approach to this process, because it's actually a very big difference between like the first 2 records and then this record. The way we went into making the songs from the first Patreon version, which was fully digital, to like the eventual band version is, first I was like a round of rearrangement, restructuring. Like I tell myself that I have to finish it, but I also tell myself it doesn't have to be finished. So often I will still have a feeling like, oh, you know, this could use like a bigger middle part, or, you know, some more flesh to the bone, or like it needs a guitar solo. Or so the first thing we did is I started working on any things that I didn't have time for in that first process, and then I worked very closely with Timo Somers, who is the guitarist, on the rearrangements on the tracks, and he had a very big part in making the songs kind of ready for the band recordings as well, building like huge guitar arrangements out of my, you know, little Jupiter and electric sunburst guitar parts that gave the songs already more this organic feel. But what we did when we went into the studio, we recorded the drums first, which is not unusual, but we had the entire band there playing along to the drums while we were recording them. So we did only record the drums at that point, but we did have the band there for 2 reasons. And the first reason was basically to test these new arrangements and see if they actually worked in a band context. And the second reason was to really have that band feel already in like the foundation, because the drums are the foundation of the song. So to really have that band feel already in the foundation. I think within the genre that we operate in, it is quite common to have like these really almost machine-like drums, really have them super, but we chose to not edit the drums. Like maybe there were a few parts where we had like really big orchestrations where we just moved them a little bit more to the grid, because as a service to the orchestrator, basically, we wanted to keep that organic feel, we wanted to keep that band feel, and then we all recorded our parts on that. Because obviously I sang all the songs already one time for the Patreon versions. I told myself, you know, you're making this album, you're making it as good as it can be. So I told myself I will record everything again and it will be better, of course. But I used a lot of the old tracks still. Like in general, I'm always in favor of emotion over perfection, you know, when it comes to vocals. So I am, you know, very happy to fix a not perfect pitch track if it's like exactly the emotion that I want it to be. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And also when it came to like the Patreon tracks and then making them into the album, like there is something about, because usually when I'm at home, I will be working and I have like my microphone hanging here and I'll be singing it as I write. And there is something about finding the melody, finding the words, and then singing them for the first time, which is sometimes it's just hard to replicate. And there were certain songs where, because usually I record alone, but for the re-recordings, I also thought, no, I'm going to work together with Oliver Phillips, who I've recorded a lot with in the past. And because I don't want to be wearing like the editor and producer's hat while I'm recording the vocals, I just want to be singing. But yeah, we went over some of the vocals and we thought, how are we going to approach this, And for some of the songs, we just thought, well, maybe we should just not. And for others, we did it again and we made improvements. And one example is Soft Revolution. Soft Revolution is a song that actually has its second version on The Obsession. The very first version was on Tales from 6 Feet Under Volume 1, so it was on the first digital compilation album. And it's my favorite song out of all of them. I love the song, but it has quite a big chorus, and I just didn't do backing vocals on them. And it was one of those things where I really felt like now that we're recording them again for like The Obsession, it's time to really give it also like the vocal treatment and the vocal arrangement that it deserves.
I go for the monsters, witches, to come out tonight and dance with me under the stars. I go for the monsters, witches, to come out tonight and dance with me under the stars.
For promotion purposes, of course, I have to say, if anyone's interested in it, like I have like the entire back catalog of like all of the first versions of the songs. They still live on Patreon. There's 56 Song of the Months now, and I'm working on number 57 for December. If people like The Obsession and they're wondering like, okay, where does it come from? How does it compare like side to side? They can still go back and listen to it. And of course, the songs that are coming out now on Patreon might be, the songs that then make it to, the part 2 after The Obsession. But the nice thing about having the Patreon and having this kind of, you have to do a song every month. By the time that we've done the rounds, there will be like a new collection of songs that we can kind of look at, making those songs then ready again for recordings with the band. It's a great trick to stay consistent. I'm a bit of I can be a bit neurotic, a bit of a perfectionist, and this is the one thing that helped me to actually finish songs, because I'll be someone to start a million things and build it up in my head like how I want it to be, and then if it's not directly where I want it to be, I'll get frustrated and I'll just stop and I just wait for that brilliant spark of inspiration one day to finish it. But the truth is sometimes it's just a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. And when it comes to the things that are on track now in the live version, to circle back to that, when we were making the mix for this album, with the mixer I straight away like asked for the mixed stems of what I already thought that I needed for the live shows. So I do several things. I think it starts with sleep, which doesn't always work, but I try. I have a little humidifier in my bunk. I bought like a tiny one that fits in like the bunk's cup holder, which is very nice. And I put it on until I feel like I'm going to fall asleep, and then I get it out because it does get wet if I leave it on too long. And then in the morning I plug it in straight away. While I wake up and do my first little doom scroll. And it's very nice because the tour bus can have like very dry air, and this I found that it helped quite a bit. And then I try to drink like at least a liter of water before even talking to anyone. But I do that in my bunk. I'm not antisocial, not at all. Before shows, before sound check, I do Lax Vox sometimes. It is, I don't have one of them here, I have them downstairs, but it's where you have like a silicone tube and you blow bubbles into like a half full bottle of water while doing like exercises, which is very nice and relaxing for the voice. I have warm-up exercises. I follow like Cheryl Porter's warm-up exercises. A Mime Mama movie. I used to feel sort of embarrassed about it, but this tour I found out, I don't know if it's up to me to tell, but I found out that Oscar uses the same, and like Sophia, our keyboardist, is joining in on the Mime Mama mooing. Even our guitar tech light guy have joined in on the Mime Mama mooing, which is really nice. I do 1 or 2 depending on how much time I have and on how much I feel like I need to warm up. I haven't like done active voice rest on this tour yet because the schedule has been pretty good so far. And I mean, we are only doing like 45 minutes, but today is actually the first day of like a 10-day block. And I feel like maybe somewhere along the line I will kind of preventatively talk a little less because it's just voice rest is very annoying, but it helps. And otherwise, like, I don't drink at all. No alcohol, that is. I'm very boring. I prioritize sleep and relaxing and over parties and drinking. Because there's one thing worse than getting sick on tour, and that's getting sick and thinking, was it something I did? You know, it's if you feel guilty about it too, that's like the worst. Oh, and I take my vitamin C every day. This is the first tour where I do screams, and it's only like 4 baby screams, but it's 4 very angry baby screams. I never dared to use them on tour before. Like, I've screamed a lot in the studio because I really like it. It's very nice to be able to go to 11, so to speak, but my technique isn't perfect. It always used to be things where Otto, our bassist, would do them live, and there's one part where I'm singing and he is doing the runs at the same time. He still does this, but there's this one part in the Exorcism. It's my very favorite song, and just in terms of like the storytelling in the song, it's not an option to not do it live. Like, it has to build up to that. I'm trying to take the vocal health like even more seriously now because I'm doing something that I'm doing for the first time and that I'm still kind of insecure about. It is my favorite part of the show. It's the last song we'll perform tonight. It's also like a nice note to end on. Yeah, a distorted note to end on. It's by a Dutch brand called. Is it a Dutch brand? I think it's a Dutch brand called White-Gluz, and it's very nice. And I bought it secondhand from Vinted. Yeah, because I'm frugal like that, and it's my favorite. So, no,
It's great.
Thank you.